So I will go ahead, and it's 12 p.m. on May 8th. I'm calling to order the special meeting. Roll call. We have 4 members here virtually, and we are going to, today's purpose is a work session on the school board voting district options. We're not going to do a lot of discussion on the options themselves because obviously that's going to be what we talk about at our May 19th meeting when these come up, and we'll do the deep discussion on the different options to vote on them. Today is a work session to utilize the tool that the county clerk's office has available to look at the maps and to use the technology to walk through it together. Sandy, is Kenneth here?
I don't see him on yet.
I don't see him either. So we may need to give him a couple minutes. But just to lay that out, today's to work with Kenneth on the technology that he has available to kind of give us 3 options on school board voting district mapping. We did this back in the fall, but just as a recap, this was an opportunity to look not only at evening out the numbers that they did back in the fall, but also looking at the various voting precincts and trying to kind of even as much out as we can. Obviously, with the way, our districts are kind of broken out, we have 5 school board districts, magistrates have 8, so nothing lines up perfectly well. So we're just going to try to do our best. But the main goal is to even out our voting numbers as well, because we have some that are out of whack. And this is all going to be using 2020 census data, I believe. Is that right, Sandy?
That's correct. And if I may, while we're waiting on Kenneth to join us, while we're talking about numbers, I want to introduce you to Laura Matusi. She is the deputy clerk here, and she takes care of the VRS. Very, very proficient. We have tallied down the numbers almost in real time. So if you'd like for me to give you the numbers at this time of each school board, I can give you those so you can know how far off we are.
That would be great.
Okay. For School Board 1 Ambrose, 3,722. School Board 2, yours, Adam, is 6,547. KT, number 3, yours is 2,925. Sherry, School Board 4, 4,731. Sarah, number 5, School District 5, is 3,269.
Would you mind running through those one more time just so that I can make sure everybody gets those?
Absolutely. School Board 1, 3,722. School Board 2, 6,547. School Board 3, 2,925. School Board 4, 4,731. School Board 5, 3,269.
Okay. So definitely some gaps there.
I don't feel like those are the same numbers that we got when we talked about this in July.
Probably not. We've had a lot of influx. Laura can tell you at any given time, we could have 40 to 60 applicants waiting to come in, people moving out, moving in. So it's going to fluctuate.
Okay.
It does seem like a bigger fluctuation than we had, because I don't remember mine being anywhere near 6,000 people.
I don't either. And mine had 5,000.
Yeah.
So when we talked, I remember coming before you all in July. Did you all get the numbers from Kenneth? Because Kenneth this is real-time voters of what we have in our voting registration system. That is the statewide system. So you may have a different set of numbers that he has the same data that we move in, but when we combine the last data interfacing with what we have, this is live real time for what we've got at CRS.
All right. Yeah, I do think we had maybe a different set of numbers the last time, so maybe it was pulled from a different set. But yeah, these I do remember that there still was a discrepancy, but it just wasn't as a big of a gap
Yeah.
as this is showing us. So, yeah, definitely good to know. And
Good
obviously
thing we
that's
didn't vote back then.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this helps a lot.
E101, we have school boards 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In precinct E101. That's the
And
big block out precinct.
yeah, and I think you mentioned that at some point in the past we went from 19 voting precincts down to 8, and so that obviously changed a lot too. And I mean, we may not be able to perfectly match everything, but we can do our best to even out the numbers and, you know, minimize the confusion on the voting precincts.
So,
Can I ask a question? Through this process, we don't move ourselves out of the precinct though, right? Because I'm at the very end of my precinct.
I think one of the options, so when we get the options together, we can get a couple. We did like 3 options last time, I believe. And one of the options was to make sure that none of the current board members were kind of kicked out. So
Because
we can,
that's problematic, right? Like if we
right.
get
Yeah,
kicked
we
out
could
of the
look.
class.
Yeah, right. So we can make sure that one of the options obviously doesn't kick anybody out. And
Because like I'm literally, it divides my street, ends my district. So
yeah. Yeah. And I believe, Sandy, you have plotted, I think on one of the maps that I saw, you did have plotted where we all live, essentially. Not that we want to post that on here, but you know,
I needed to see that though. I visually needed to see
yeah.
how close you all were. And we got 3 very close.
Mm-hmm.
Will we be able to get a copy of these things after we meet today?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Sandy, do you know if Kenneth is running late, or are you able to message him?
I'm going to message him.
Because he's the driver of the technology, right? So we need him for the call.
He is. He definitely is. When we did our redistricting, I compared our notes to other counties, and other counties had to hire a contractor to come in and do all of this TMS work. He's now, you know, we've got that county capability, so he adds a whole lot to it, but he has to be here.
Yes.
Just being part of the right team.
You want me to sing?
Go right ahead.
I'll sing.
Belt it out.
Let me find a song that showcases everything.
I'm getting his direct line.
Jerry, this is the most quiet I've ever heard you in a meeting.
Ambrose has jokes.
I'm just trying to kill time. I was going to ask Sarah about her house being stuffy, but I decided not to.
It is. I had my windows open last night.
But it feels good today, doesn't it?
It does. Yep.
Yeah.
The number you have dialed is not in service.
Uh-oh.
That says blocking us. That's not good. Well, actually, why don't you share? I don't think any of us have had any information recently. Do you want to share? Have you gotten recent information, or do you want to share the last information with some options, just general information while we wait for Kenneth?
The most recent thing I have is what they provided to us back in the fall. I didn't have it pulled up or anything because I knew we were basically redoing everything.
That's
And
okay. So
now we know it had
KT,
different numbers.
did you have access to that? The information that was from last fall? Okay.
No, that would have been before she was on.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
that-
Ambrose. I didn't mean to leave you out. I was thinking
No,
KT's
no.
new for some reason and
Yeah.
not Ambrose.
I was surprised.
Ambrose, this is new.
I am new.
Oh, okay. The one, I think it was back in September, maybe,
July.
or July.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll pull up the numbers too, because I think I have screenshot of those.
Yeah, I definitely think this is something we need to do. I mean, there's just no doubt about it.
Mhm.
Both times the numbers were there was a difference of, I don't remember if it was 1,000 or more than 1,000 between the the different districts. So there
Mhm.
were definitely some numbers there. These numbers do seem more more just a larger kind of a gap. So I
Oh, yeah.
definitely think this is a good
Yeah.
thing to do, and I'm glad that we're doing it. So.
Can you
Yeah.
go over the numbers again? Because I don't think I got them all down. So District 1 and the numbers
I-
that Sandy gave out, these are the numbers of voters in those districts, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so District 1 was 3,722.
Mhm.
District 2, 6,547.
Correct.
3 is 2,925. $31. And
She was giving me more voters. I like that.
Mhm.
5 is 3,269.
Mhm.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So he was confused. I got him on the phone. He thought it started at 1, so he's coming on right now.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. I'm going to mute again.
All right. Oh, there's Kenneth. Hello. All right. Kenneth, we were just catching up and kind of Sandy went over the current voter registration numbers in the different districts just to share kind of how skewed they are, really. I mean, the gaps.
Kenneth might be frozen. Oh,
No, there he is.
I think he's getting the screen up.
Yeah. You're muted, Kenneth. Kenneth, you're muted.
You're muted.
Muted. You're muted.
There you go.
I was about to walk out the door. I'm glad I did not.
That's 10.
Do I share my own screen or how do we?
Yeah. Because you have the tool, right, to kind of adjust the maps and walk us through that.
I do.
While we're waiting on Kenneth, I'd like to make an announcement. We have a new pope.
Oh, really?
Really?
Don't know who it is, but there is a new one.
I bet he's not from America.
Bet he's not either.
Oh, did you?
Sh-
1614. Yes.
All right. Yep. Well, you can see it. Or I can. Can everybody else see it?
Yep.
All right. Perfect. And Kenneth, while we were discussing earlier, obviously the big goal is there's a big discrepancy in the voter registrations between the districts. So evening out those numbers and then also taking into account the precincts. And then I think those are the main goals. And then obviously avoiding, kicking anybody out of their districts if we can do that, at least in one of the options.
And I
Sure.
did have a question before we started, and I don't know, Sandy, if this is for you or Kenneth, but, or if, is the superintendent on? Perhaps he could answer.
No.
Okay. Well, I do think it's important that we know what gap is acceptable. So what number would be an okay? Like, does it have to be within 10? Does it have to be within 100? Does it have to be within 1,000? And so I think that's something probably the school district, maybe the superintendent should check into, I guess, and let us know. Sandy, do you have any thoughts on that or any guidance? You and Kenneth?
I remember before, I got the statute on my other desk over the courthouse, but when we were talking about, when we were referring back to all of the legal statutes we had to go by, it all states reasonably equal.
As reasonable as possible.
As reasonable as possible, as equal as possible. And then they would say reasonably equal. So, I mean, you've got, what was when we redistricted, Kenneth, what was the ratio? What was as close as we got? Which was the best that the county's ever been? You remember
Like the variable was like 2.1. We were within 11 people of each one.
Wow. That was phenomenal.
So here's the thing. The statute for reapportionment of magisterial district, there's not a lot of specifics on school boards and the redistricting. It says that you have to do it. It says that you should do it every 10 years with the census. There's not a whole lot of other guidance with that.
Kenneth, there's a 5-year in there. You cannot change it more often than every 5 years.
Okay. I don't have it in front of me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With the magistrate district reapportionments, it specifically says as reasonable as possible. They need to be as close to each other as reasonable as possible. Now, we can make it work by choosing like 10%, but that's not reasonably as possible, because I know we can get it within, 100 people, which is going to be significantly less than 10. And you want to be able to defend the decision that you made. So if you open it wide open and have it at 10 and you just make it work, well, you really didn't do a good job. You just really went through the motions, but you really didn't redistrict anything, because it's so easy to do it that way. So I would suggest start with the tightest number possible. And then when you get to the point where you're like, this just won't work, we can't make it fit, we increase the number just a little bit, but small increments at a time, until you get it to where it's as reasonably as close as reasonably possible.
Sure, that makes sense.
And then that's very defendable to anybody who might question what you're doing. It's my opinion.
Yeah.
So did you give us, or are you going to give us that option that shows that within, the 2.1 or so percent?
That's what we're working on right now. Like he's going to be working on the options right now.
Right. So that's what I'm just asking, is that one that we'll do, and then just so we have the different, like, this is best for population, this is best for actual reality, this is best for making sure no board members are redistricted out of their current district, so that we have those kind of just an idea of that's what this option means.
Yeah.
Sherry, you see the numbers over on the left. You see these numbers.
The districts that are on the screen right now in the map, those are the current districts. That's what you currently look like. We can turn off the streets to make it look a little bit better. The red lines that you see sorry, I misled you. Hold on.
You move closer so you can see these numbers now.
Do you know?
These are population numbers, we're giving voter numbers.
So I told you wrong. The red lines are the current districts as they are right now. Can you see the red lines there on the map?
Mhm. Yes.
The colors are that third option that you that was on the paper copy
From
That-
last year. Okay.
from last year that the other people did.
Okay.
Now if you want, I can reset all these.
Can you turn the streets back on? Because my district, I don't know if you want to hear, like, I'm right on the edge. So I'm wondering if I'm out.
I wouldn't sweat it right at the moment. Let's
Well, I'm sweating it. Let me just tell you.
yeah.
You got my anxiety like through the roof right now. So
Let's do this.
So I think just like in context, I think like when Kenneth gives us 3 options, like KT, I think he'll give us like one option that
Let's-
just
I'm not
on
gonna-
paper is straight numbers. And then he'll give us one option that will leave all of us within our district so that we can look at what that looks like. And then he can give us, a third option of whatever parameters that we want. But I definitely think those 2 options, one that leaves everyone within their existing district would be one option that we want to see. And then another option is just what's best number wise, just straight, that gets to that number question. And then he could give us a third option. I can't remember what the parameter of the third option was last time, Kenneth, or
First, I want to be very, very clear that I'm not going to give you any options.
We lost you, Kenneth.
This is not Kenneth's plan. This is something that you all are going to do. I will facilitate this process, but I'm not going to present any options that I come up with whatsoever. That's not my job. Your job is to come up with districts, and we'll use this tool, and I'll facilitate the tool so that you all can do it more accurately. So we'll sit here and kind of go through the steps, and I'll show you, and I will show you, but I'll be able to give you ideas and things like that. But you all are going to tell me what to move where, and then I'll move it, and you'll see it happen as we go.
Kenneth, I thought you said that you had an option that had everybody within 10 votes of each other. 10 citizens
The magistrate districts.
on the magistrate districts. Okay. Well, what do you want us to tell you to do?
Yeah, that's
I'm going to
If you don't
explain.
want to do it, what do you want to do?
It's not that I don't want to do it. It's just not my job to do it.
So can you show us what it looks like within 10, whatever the closest, the range that Ms. Jones had outlined for us? The ethical range, what that map would look like?
And then just because it's so small and I can't see, what would the numbers in each district be if like just looking at just the straight number, closest number
Yeah.
match we can get equaled? What would the numbers look like there?
I did an average of the 5 districts that based off the numbers Sandy gave us earlier, and it's right around 4,238 point something. So right around 4,238 in that range.
So you see see this box here to the side, and the colors are green, orange, and blue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Up here in this, at the top part, it says number of districts. So that's 5. You have
Mhm.
5 districts. This is the total population of the county. And this is the variable, which is the percentage. Right now it's at 1. So this would be the minimum number of people, if you left it at 1 right now, that could be in each district. And this is the maximum number of people that would be in each district. As we grab a census block, that highlighted part on the map, it tells you the population of people right here where my mouse pointer is. How many people are in that census block? So so there's 20 in that one. There's 288 in that one. So then if I add that to District 5, it recalculates the total number, changes the color of the district on the map, and it also made it orange, which means we're over. And we're over by 236. These are examples.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal is to make all of these green. And if they're green, they're within the variable and the minimum and the maximum.
That's helpful, Kenneth. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the original ones? Okay.
But those numbers have
Thank you.
changed, right?
Yeah, that's these numbers that we're seeing on the screen don't
These
line up with
numbers,
the number Sandy gave us earlier.
these numbers are from the 2020 census. This is the population of the total people that are in the district. That's the oldest individual to the youngest individual.
Okay, but should
I'm
we
gonna-
base this off that, or should we base it off the
Oh,
voter registration numbers?
You have to base it off of that because you're representing everybody, not just voters.
So Kenneth, can you go through and tell us, because I'm sorry, I can't see that well. What numbers do you have for each district at current state with as is? What totals do you show for each district?
That's what I'm trying to get back to.
Oh, sorry. Because it was, yeah.
I gave you voters and he's gonna give you total population.
Yeah, and I guess I might need some clarification. So you gave us the voter registration numbers, and this is looking at the voting districts. It's not. So should those not line up?
So school board members represent anybody that's in the school,
Well, of course.
that's in the county. You're not just representing the people that can vote for you.
Right, but
So
these
you-
are voting districts. So I was just asking the question because we've been given two different sets of numbers.
Yeah.
Which one?
So-
So is it fair to say we need to disregard the voting registration numbers that we were given earlier when we're doing this exercise of coming up with these options?
For this, yes, those numbers that Sandy gave you are important to Sandy because
Okay.
those numbers are going to, if you take 400 people from one district and move it into another district, that's 400 people that Sandy has to physically go in and change in the voter registration system.
Okay. So what are the
Not to
current,
say
yeah,
that-
back to
not say
Sarah's
that you
question.
shouldn't do it.
Yeah, back to Sarah's question. So do we have the current numbers that we're
working.
working with here for each district?
Working on it.
Okay.
I did this the other day and I closed it, I guess, without saving it.
So just while you're looking that up, so it sounds like the first option that we were discussing that I thought we should look at is the option that has the most equalized population. Another option it sounds like that we should look at is the option that has the least disruption to the voters. So what would be least disruptive, moving voters around, kind
With
of.
the precincts.
Right.
Or-
And then the third option I think we still need to include is one that leaves members in their districts, but still equalizes the population so that it's as equal as possible without moving members from existing districts. And I'm not saying we choose one over the other. I'm just saying
This is just creating the
basically
option.
those are the three options I would like to see. And if others want to see more options, obviously they just chime in. But those would be the three options that I would like to see. And I think those are probably the three options that you kind of brought us back last year, probably around those same kind of parameters. Is that accurate, Sandy, Kenneth? Or are there other things that we need to be thinking of that
They-
The
The three-
precincts, I don't think were included in the last, the voting precincts, getting those kind of cleaned up were not, I don't believe, included in the last set of options we got. Is that right, Sandy?
I don't believe they were.
The
And
three,
Sandy wasn't really involved. I mean,
Right, right.
count until much later in the process. I think it was the superintendent that was involved and some board members that are no longer on the board. So she
I-
made historical.
so in the meeting, there were two people, the superintendent and myself. They paid no attention to disrupting voters really outside of trying not to split apart subdivisions so that one street was being represented by one school board member and the same street just across the street was represented by a different school board member, because really those people have the same things in common typically. So it was really just based on population. And then we got down to the end and I asked the question, well, where do the board members live? Because in the first two options, we didn't have that information displayed or anything. We put them up there and there was kind of in the two options that we had, there were three people, three of you all live within a mile of each
Right.
other, which makes the world super hard when you're doing something like this and trying not to
Disrupt.
redistrict people
Yeah.
or yeah.
Mhm.
So the first two options, they paid no attention to that whatsoever. The third option was an attempt to try not to do that.
Gotcha. And then, Sandy, just for our clarification, are there any other options that we should look at other than, just equalizing the population, being least disruptive to voters? Because we don't want to disenfranchise folks. They voted for certain people and you don't want to, to do all that and cause, angst and more work for you all when we don't have to. And then third option, just kind of looking at making sure that existing members who've been voted in remain within their district. Are there any other kinds of things that we should be looking at from your point of view as far as like just the logistics of all of this?
Yes, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to explain this too, because I think one point that Kenneth brought out that I think needs to be absolutely primo in our mind is that we're about the numbers. And as far as us being able to make sure that every voter gets an accurate, the correct ballot, we're proficient with what we have to do because we worked with Kenneth and we had it all detailed down as to what ballot that person is to get, depending on where they live. Now, ideally, a point that Kenneth just came out as well is that it would be magical if we could keep everything together as close as possible. So the people who live in that same subdivision, they all share the same interest and they're all in the same school. And we're not like dividing them down in between streets where, that's the tragic part of it. As far as us having to block out and do what we need to do for controlled ballots, we do that. And we know we're going to have to continue to do that. I understand that. That is never going to go away until we're 8 and 8. But in the meantime, the least amount of blockouts that we can do as I'm facing out the ballots would be helpful. It's not like it's a life-breaking thing. If it doesn't happen that way, what I would rather see happen is that we've got the very best scenario for you all as well as us, meaning that we keep everybody as inclusive as we can for that particular school, rather than get into splitting the weeds and getting more down into the numbers. That's just my opinion. And I've given you the outside of it from what we have to work with and the broad side of it. So that's just how I see it from the outside looking in, trying to combine your world into mine.
Thank you. That's very helpful because, you guys are boots on the ground. And so that's important for us to know that perspective because you're doing this day in, day out. So thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
Kenneth, do the numbers that you have pulled up there, are those the current numbers?
Current numbers, yes.
All right. So I'll read those off for everybody just so we
At
can.
a variable of 1%.
Okay, sure.
So, but watch. If we make this 10, things change. See how the other ones got better?
So
If I
can we make it 10%?
You can, but you're not doing the best job you can. You're not making them as even as reasonably
Right.
possible. So if you make it 1, so you'll see how the green will change to something else.
Yeah. Oh, but so those aren't the starting numbers. These are still with the variable added in.
Correct.
Can we?
So we
can
need to move some from 2 and 5 into the other districts. Is that correct?
That's how you want to start. Yes. The ones that are over by, like 2 is 761, starting to move those out into some other district. But as you move them, you can't, they're by census blocks. So you might move one census block, which puts it over by 30. So then you got to find somewhere else to shift them around.
So like for me, for example, like my current district splits Marseilles. So Marseilles on one side of Marseilles is not my district. The other side of Marseilles is my district.
Where do you, KT, where do you live?
I live in 3. I live down in the
I-
corner.
What's
Without
there's
giving
lots
too
of
much
corners
information
down
away on
Yeah, yeah. You
YouTube.
don't you don't have to say your address.
No. I don't want her address. I was just trying to figure out how to help.
In 3. Okay.
Okay.
So like that green spot right there, that's the Cleveland farm. Right
This
there.
is.
Yeah. I think.
It
No.
is. This
Oh.
is.
I think
this
you're
is Bob Matt
absolutely
Cleveland's
correct.
house.
Yep.
And see, like back over here is Glen Eagle. You can't see my cursor, but behind that, that's Glen Eagles and Paddock.
That's this.
That goes into Glen Eagles and Paddock. And then across the street is Derby Hills. So all that is
Are you District 5?
I'm just,
District 3.
District 3. Okay.
So I wonder if I could get some of that Derby Hills action, Edmonds Crossing action, or whatever that is right there. I don't know what that is.
it's probably,
Edmonds Crossing's over, I think over 1, like by your arrow. No, that's my arrow. Sorry.
Say them again. You want to try what?
So where your arrow just was,
Derby Hills.
either Derby Hills or back into Glen Eagles. And Glen Eagles is going to continue to expand. You're going to pick up more people in Glen Eagles soon
Well, but
because
it's
building back
you,
there.
you don't plan on the future. You have to
Well, I'm
use the
saying
census
there's-
data that you got.
they are there now. So if this is a 2020 census, there's
But they weren't
construction.
there when the census was taken.
No. But even if there's so that's all, so back I have like Linwood and all that through there. But see, like for example, I'm trying to think of, I know more because
And you trying to take from 5 and give it to 3.
yes.
So 3 needs 50 people.
Yes. So I don't know if maybe getting, because I've got Dan Drive and all that area.
So right
That's-
there is 17. What I have highlighted, the Clevelands.
And I don't know about up in this corner over beside it. Right
Yeah.
there. Yes. Is that a whole precinct? That might be too much.
It's a whole census block. That's 445 people.
So that's way too much.
yeah. Should we
Yeah,
work?
Okay. That number down there, yeah,
I
that
don't-
helps. That number down at the bottom, we need to keep an eye on that. When he clicks on something, we need to look at that. So if we're trying to get to 50 for 3, if we're working on 3 right now, then we need to.
What's
you know.
the strategy, Kenneth? Like, is there a strategy since we're dealing with 3 districts that are slightly under to varying degrees? Should we start with the one that's the most under or start with the one that's least under? What is there a good way to do this that makes,
It's really hard to say. And I'm
Okay.
not trying to be difficult. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Because this is a whole and there's only 4 people there, or it says 17 people there. There's really not 17. I don't know why that works like that. I would pick those, and I would probably pick that, something like that. It's split. So this is a subdivision boundary right through here,
Yeah.
right? This is the Legends. This is Edmonds Crossing. This is the church and the nursing home, and then you got this farm. It's 136 people. It's not a really clean thing because the way that it looks, all jagged and weird. So you could start there and say add that to that.
And then that one's green.
So even though it was under 50, but we added 130 something to it because the variable minimum and maximum is almost it's a little more than 100.
100.
There's some wiggle room,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So what is it that was, you said that's the nursing home at the end of that tail there, and then what is the rest of it?
This is a school
Yeah,
and a church. This house right here, that's just a house.
but what's the circle?
This is called
Is that Sugar Tree?
yes, Sugar Tree. Whew. Sugar Tree.
Okay,
So I kind of, that's a good start.
That is a good
Um,
start, Kenneth.
Okay. Who's the next under?
Adam, while can he, my district is not on the screen. Kenneth, can you show District 1? Have you made any changes to that?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so I still have 3,722.
District 1. No, you have 4,940.
Yeah, these are different numbers, Ambrose. So
Okay.
ignore
They're
ignore
different.
those numbers we got earlier. This is all by population now.
Okay,
Can we do
Adam,
the
what-
population numbers? Because I just want to write them all down. Can we do that, what it is now?
We've already moved some stuff
We,
around.
we did move a
Oh,
little
okay,
bit
well,
of
forget
stuff
it, it's
around.
fine. So
But
Ambrose is
you-
around something other number than the 2,000?
You see the
Adam,
Can you-
what did you say the population divided by 5, what would that be? What,
Oh, well, I was
It
going off
doesn't.
those voter registration numbers earlier again. So those numbers also don't make sense for what we're doing now. So we don't have
I don't know if this
Viewers.
matters or not, but I have all 3 nursing homes that I'm aware of in my district.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if that matters as far as like the population that I'm representing. Is that effective for everyone to have that same kind of age group population, or does it matter?
KT,
Doesn't-
I have
they're all just human beings. So
No,
that's
it
what
doesn't
you're
matter, like
representing.
as far as representation, the spectrum of representation. That's what I was wondering. I mean, I don't care. I'm fine with that. I just didn't know if since we're talking about representation matters, that's why I was asking that question.
Yeah.
I don't know if they all want to be represented by me.
evening out the population numbers.
Mhm.
KT, I have a large nursing home also.
Where's yours? Where's the,
Home Place in Midway.
I didn't realize
Okay,
there was a
so-
nursing home.
All right, yeah,
Yeah.
hey guys, let's keep.
So
Keep going.
Ambrose,
Yes, sir.
can you see this window right here that I'm moving around?
I can see it, but like Sarah, it's so small. I
Okay,
can't.
so we're going to start at the top.
Yes,
And I'm going
sir.
to read you what the total population in each one of them are.
Okay, thank you.
The number 1, 4940.
Okay,
Number 2, 6189.
okay,
Number 3, 5411.
okay,
Number 4, 4561. Number 5, 5769. The total population for Woodford County as of the 2020 census was 26,870.
okay. Kenneth, how many residents live in Marywood and Lanes Inn?
Lots.
And that's my district.
Okay,
Well, so Lane's View, 557.
so if you gave District 1 those, that would get it up to 5,300, wouldn't it?
But
Put
then
you
you're gonna
over.
put me under,
Put you
Yeah, I
over.
know.
Yeah.
Somebody's got, I'm just trying to.
yeah.
to
But I
work.
think if we go back on the flip side and go back and give me more of people that are close, like in this, like maybe some of 5, because 5 is over and that connects to, and that like that one street's kind of completely split. I don't know if that where 5, the number 5 actually is. I wonder if that would be effective, right there.
This,
Yes, yeah.
so that's a big one. That's 400 and
Is anybody else having connectivity or is hearing? Because I'm hearing something weird.
I don't.
But Ambrose took a bunch of mine with that one, so I would need even more than just that.
Yeah.
But that connects the neighborhoods better.
Yeah, that's the reason I said Lane
Yeah.
View, because it's
Yeah.
it's adjacent to
Yeah.
my current district.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I would like to see as much connectivity between the neighborhoods as possible.
I mean, we can go through the motions and
We might need to pick a strategy here instead of going back and
Yeah.
forth a bunch. Like we might just need to focus on
See, that would
getting
connect.
one green and then shift, just kind of going down the line into, because now 2 and 3 are quite a bit over.
Yeah.
But Marywood is also, isn't that Northside District?
Yes,
you're not representing schools, you're representing all the schools. You're not
Yes.
representing a school. It's
I know,
all
but
the
I'm saying if I keep Northside District, like that would still give me Northside District. So I don't really, does that make sense?
Not at all.
I know, I'm saying that way. Never mind.
No.
It's
That's
fine.
okay.
So go through. So let's keep looking at District 1 and kind of zooming out. Because you could, you could cut across like right, like that area. Because there's a discrepancy in like District 2 like has too many, right? So chopping up there. And then that would give some leeway.
So now District 5 and District 4 are under.
Yeah.
I'm
See,
way over.
This is what makes it hard.
Yeah. No. So many options, so many options.
Yeah.
I do think it's important if we agree just on the framework of what we would like to have sent to us as options. Are the three that I mentioned, are they doable, Kenneth? One option that's just straight population, looking just straight as even as we can get it. One option that is looking just at the least disruption to voters. And then one option that is the best number wise that leaves members intact in districts. So as we're not disenfranchising folks. Do those three options, are those three things that we could get, you could do for us, or would we need another session to do together? Are there other options?
If
people
you
would like-
all choose to do those three things, we can sit and work through it until we get them done.
Well, is there a way
He's
to?
not going to send those to us. That's what he said earlier. Like he's not going to come up with the options to send to us. Like this is the process, and it looks like it is going to take longer. So we may need to maybe we can get one option finished today, because we got about 10 minutes left, or we might need to just table this to a future.
I think we need
future
to meet
workshop.
in person. In person would be optimal. But we are on a time crunch. So I mean,
Right.
I could definitely meet in person. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, because you leave in June, I'm out the end of May. I don't know when we're going to have time to meet in person.
Right.
It's the
That's
same before.
that's why we set this virtual, but it looks like it's going to take longer. So we may need to figure something out, or maybe we don't have a full special called meeting like this. We might just have a few of us that can make it in person and get together with Kenneth to run through this tool.
Well, but
To
then
come up
that's-
with options.
And that's why I don't understand why, like, could we not just have a situation to where we tried to, like, the three things that Sherry identified, like the best laid out plan to kind of meet those needs? Because my frustration is like, this did not get done before my vote. You know what I mean? And Ambrose, right? And so part of that was because, the ask, as far as I understood, was like, let's get the vote through. I don't want to be unseated from a a district that I was just voted into. I'll just be completely honest. Like, and I know that nobody wants to lose their seats, but I wonder if the transition period, if we have to redistrict people, maybe with the next voting round. And I know that only impacts 2 of us on here, maybe 3. Sherry, you were in this last vote too. But that's my concern because my opponent and I were both at both ends of the district. And so it was asked that we wait. And so that's my fear. And I have a lot of anxiety and I don't really want to sit on it forever. So if we need to meet next week to get this figured out, then we can do that. I don't know when with all the other meetings that we have going on, but I mean, I don't want to be rolling into thinking, okay, am I going to still have my seat and waiting on that, you know, and that's maybe being selfish, but I'm just trying to advocate for myself as well.
If we are going to, I'll pause here because if we're going to try to meet in person, it's probably not going to happen until June.
And
Like
Sherry's
with-
out all June.
Well,
Yeah.
and I can meet again. I can meet Friday. I could meet next Monday. I could meet, Wednesday. I could meet,
Next
Thursday
Monday.
before the other meeting. I mean, I feel like we could make a time, but again, maybe people find that it okay to do it online. I'm fine if you guys want to do another virtual meeting, but I do feel like an hour is not enough time. And I do feel like, we need to know what we're asking Kenneth for instead of having, him just, spend an hour moving people around. That's not, I don't think
the
that's a good use
process
of
that
his
he's doing.
time.
That's the
Yeah,
process
that
that
is-
he's doing. He's not going to do this for us. He's going to
We
do
don't
this
need
for
him to
us.
do it for us, but we need to give him direction, Adam. And if we come into
Right.
this meeting with no direction of what we wanted or no direction of what needed to happen, that probably took 53 minutes of the meeting. So nobody
It
wants
didn't,
Kenneth
but
to do
that's
it.
okay. That's your opinion. Let's go ahead and stop here because I don't think we're going to get even one option done. So I think we're going to have to table this. We're going to have to set up a meeting if we can try to get it in person. But Kenneth, I know your schedule. So, a lot of our meetings for school board are after our work hours, which usually we have school board at like 6 p.m. But we can.
I can meet at any time with the exception of May 29th through June 9th.
Okay.
It can be early in the morning. It can be before the sun comes up. It can be late at night.
Thank you, Kenneth.
It'll probably
I,
it'll probably be at night. So you said with the exception of
I'm going to Florida
May.
June
Good for
29th
you. Nice.
through
So
June 9th.
let's look and we, just depending on if we can make this work, we might not be able to vote on this at the May 19th meeting.
And
Sandy,
Sure,
do you need us to vote on this at the May meeting? I feel like Sandy has a time crunch here.
Right. That's why we were trying to get this
Yeah.
scheduled today, but it's
So,
I mean, do we have time today just to keep plowing through this? Like, I mean, we're all on here.
I have a 1
I
o'clock.
have to, I
No.
have to get off at 1.
we have to get up at 1.
so if
Okay.
I may, real fast, Sherry, if I
Yes.
may, the process that we were doing, which seemed very scatterbrained, and Sandy can attest to this, that is the process.
Mhm.
It's because you have to see the numbers move around.
Right.
When
Right.
we did this for the magistrates, there were 3, the fiscal court appointed 3 committee members. Those committee members sat around the table and they said, how about we move this to there? How about you grab that and put it over here? And I would just move it around. So what we were doing is what you do.
Right.
Having an idea about the 3 things that you mentioned is a good one, but at the end of the day, you still have to sit in front of the screen and move the numbers around. It would be the same thing if I gave you a paper map, you would have to figure out how to count all the people in the area that you were drawing and coloring in with a pencil.
Yeah. And I think
This
you
is
did this.
significantly faster.
Yeah, I think you
and
did
a
this
lot more
process
accurate.
for us before when we redistrict schools, and it's very helpful and it is a very detailed
It
process.
was.
And I
if
love
you'll
seeing the
rem-
numbers in real time. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the process. I just
And if
want to
you'll
try to,
If you will remember, that took like 5 meetings.
yeah.
So we're coming up on time. So Kenneth, I'll work with you and the rest of the board to schedule another meeting, and we'll try to make it in person. find a day, time. We might have to do multiple, so maybe we set 2 hours for this meeting and see how far we get, and then we can go from there. Does that sound reasonable to
Well,
everybody?
Actually, can we go ahead and talk about a time while we're all on here and set a time?
That sounds good.
All right, I'm gonna
Um,
go to my calendar. Hold on.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Kenneth,
And are we
and
trying to do this
Sandy
before-
very much.
Are we trying to do this before the May 19th meeting?
Yeah.
Ideally,
Wednesday, the 14th?
Wide open.
Does that work for you, Ambrose?
It really doesn't. I mean,
Oh.
it would, I could meet earlier in the day Wednesday, but
Yeah.
6
see,
o'clock Wednesday doesn't work well.
what
I
about
can-
Monday?
Monday, we have,
I know we're
Monday
all busy and I do appreciate
work.
everybody working, and I think it's one of those things that we just probably should have got started on a little earlier, but we'll get it done. We just gotta figure it out. I
I
could do
mean,
Monday anytime
Monday the
after
12th.
3.
I can't know. It'd have to be after work. 5 p.m. would be the earliest.
What's the earliest you could do it Wednesday, Adam?
The earliest I could do it would be 4:30.
I
And
can't
we-
on Wednesday until at least 5, and that'd be pushing it.
And that'd be pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm free all day
Wednesday's
on
hard.
Wednesday. We've got the interviews on the 13th. The 15th, we're already meeting to discuss. The
Right.
16th, we don't have anything as far as school board goes.
Could we do it the 15th before we meet to discuss?
No, because we're
meet at
meeting at 5 on the 15th.
Do we need to do like a time during the day, like a work day? And Kenneth, you tell us if
Yeah.
that's not even doable. But where we 2 to 3 hours, I can take off if I need to, but I just need to know.
If
I
we do
can do
something
it
like that,
during-
it'll be have to be the 19th meeting though. Like I can't take any days off next week. That's not enough notice.
Well, and I think too, I mean, I'm out the 21st through the 27th.
Does Monday the 12th at any time work for folks?
I have the equity meeting at 4:30. I could do it at 6 on Monday.
Adam, may I make a recommendation? I appreciate your diligence in trying to work this in, and I know that this is all imposed because of the deadline that we said. I'd really like to have this done in July. That's a big wish list, and I'm hearing you all, and I know the urgency that you have to do with your superintendent votes. Can we just make it easier and say, like the second week in July, and start fresh, and you all are through all your crises, and we can just shoot for that, and then maybe it sounds like to me that it's causing a lot of anxiety for you all that you don't particularly need at this time.
No, I appreciate that, Sandy. Yeah, okay. Let's go with that. We'll look a little farther out. Maybe we can get together either end of June or around June to try to shore this up. And like we said, we might have to set a couple meetings. So I'll try to communicate with everybody, see if there's some times around then, and we'll try to set that first meeting, like I said, for maybe 2 hours in person so that we can all be in the room and see everything a little bit better.
Sounds
Mr.
good.
Chairman,
Thank you.
All right. All
Mr.
right.
Chairman,
Thank you
I-
so much, everybody. Hey, we do need to do a really quick motion to adjourn.
so moved.
All right.
Second.
All right. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Andy, Kenneth, thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
all.
Thank you so
guys,
much
so
for your
much.
time.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.